Good morning. Good morning. It was great to hear both Marilee and Bill playing their instrumentals. So wonderful. I look forward to this time together as we connect for another time of reflection. I know we're apart physically, but we're certainly proving that we're not alone. You know, we welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Dave Bianchi, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. We've asked everyone to stay home and view or hear us on your personal devices. Know that we still welcome all to be part of us, regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And doesn't that seem more important than ever in these times? You know, if you're someone who's viewing this and it's your first exposure to us, feel free to contact our office on our website for more information. It's also where you can download a newcomer form. You know, you can sign up for our newsletter that keeps you informed of all the activities that go on with the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada. Now, you may notice on the top of your screen, there's a speaker or gallery view. So you can toggle back and forth however you want to view the service. Now, know that you're going to remain muted throughout this service, but you can make comments on the chat box anytime. Most importantly, during the joys and concerns. Now, today, we're going to skip the coffee hour that we usually have. We'll miss that, but we want to give ample time for our annual meeting. And when the service is over, you need to exit out of this service and go to the Zoom connection for the annual meeting, because they're two separate meeting designations. And now, Reverend Karen.
Welcome to you this morning. We're so glad to be together at this time, and we're so glad that you have chosen to be in spiritual community together for our service this morning. I want to acknowledge, as we begin our service today, the feelings of heartbreak and outrage that we're experiencing over the events of the last few days. We have shifted the focus of our service very last minute to address and acknowledge these events. What better place than spiritual community to be the container to put our feelings and all of the things we're experiencing that we have not even had time to process yet. And so we bring them all together today in one container so that no one is alone, and we hold them all together. We'll spend some time in our service today acknowledging those feelings and breathing together. And let's begin by doing just that, taking a few deep breaths together as Rhodesy leads us in our breathing meditation. Once again, welcome.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
as this has been meant to be our annual Flower Communion Sunday today, it's particularly poignant to think about the symbolism of flowers. Flowers are used at weddings and at funerals, at birthdays, at celebrations, all kinds of rituals. We use flowers as symbols. And they seem able to symbolize a variety of emotions that we might be carrying and to be able to bring beauty even to those emotions. We might be experiencing today anger and sadness and grief and confusion, worry about loved ones, about all the world's situations. And so in some ways it's fitting that we honor our Flower Communion service today and allow it to help us, the beauty of these flowers, to help us hold all of our emotions on this day.
I invite you to join me with the chalices that you might have at home to light our collective chalice this morning. And we'll be lighting it with a prayer for living intention. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, and loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving.
In the warmth of your presence, I am safe at home. I will stand, I will stand. In the deepest conflict, I am not alone. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand, I will stand. With this spark in my hand, I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand in myself when I'm not feeling strong. I will stand, I will stand. I will tear down the walls and sing a freedom song. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand, I will stand. With this spark in my hand, I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will honor the vision of who I will be. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand, I will stand. With this spark in my hand, I will stand. stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with a spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand.
The flower communion has a long history within Unitarian Universalism and is an important annual ritual in most Unitarian Universalist congregations. This ritual was envisioned by Czechoslovakian Unitarian Norbert Čapek and offered to his congregation for the first time on June 4th, 1923. Čapek was raised a Catholic, became a Baptist, and was eventually ordained a Baptist pastor and found his way to the United States. He longed for something more progressive that he wasn't finding in his Catholic faith or as a Baptist. And it was while in the United States that he discovered a Unitarian church and realized that was the answer to the progressive religion that he was looking for. And so he became committed to bringing Unitarianism to Czechoslovakia. In Čapek's mind, Unitarianism was going to renew his nation morally. And he thought it was just what his country needed. And he was partially right. He had huge success. Shortly after Čapek began his congregation, he was quickly finding that his church, which could hold 3,000 people, was often at capacity. Čapek very carefully cultivated this new religious tradition in Czechoslovakia. He learned from the American Unitarians, and he also created offerings that would compel his new audience. And it was through this lens that he created a new ritual that would help bring together a diverse group of people in a very different kind of church community. In honor of the 1-year anniversary of the founding of the first Unitarian congregation in Czechoslovakia, Čapek designed a ritual, the flower communion, which he thought would allow for the religious freedom that he felt was so important and would acknowledge the diversity of his congregants and would help all members, regardless of specific religious upbringing, to feel comfortable. It is because of Norbert Čapek that we celebrate the flower communion today.
And so we come to our flower communion today after almost a year, our church program year, of exploring the theme of comfort to courage. When we embarked on this theme, from comfort to courage, in the fall, we could not have foreseen or have known all that it would mean as the year unfolded, and all of the ways that it would come to be expressed. And today especially, it becomes even more poignant that we seek to live out that movement of comfort to courage. We are heartbroken and outraged today over the senseless killing of George Floyd by white police officers and the officers who stood by. We are heartbroken and outraged that we live in a culture where such actions are possible, even in the year 2020, even in a time of pandemic. We are heartbroken and outraged that much of the leadership of our country, and I use the word leaders loosely, do nothing to discourage and in fact encourage and fan the flames of these type of actions. We must endeavor to turn our heartbreak and our outrage into action, even and especially at such a time as this that we are living in. We must recommit and become ever more determined in our solidarity and in our working to dismantle the systems that allow racism in our communities and our country. And I want to say to you today that it is also so important that we recognize that there are those who would like to take our attention away from George Floyd and away from our determination to dismantle systemic racism. They would like to take our attention away from the peaceful protests that were led by Black Lives Matter yesterday. They would like the narrative to be about the violence and destruction that happened in Reno and all over the country after the protests. It is important that we understand and acknowledge that their purpose is to inflict further pain, oppression, and racism by using distraction. We must not let that happen. Our attention and our commitment must remain on our heartbreak and our outrage that stay focused on justice for George Floyd and for his family and for his community. And our call must be for the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. And so we hold that top of mind and heart. And even as we seek to process all of our feelings, we must determine and commit to work for justice and an end to dismantling systemic and personal racism. And so today, on our day of flower communion, let us bring together the flowers that we brought, whether they might be from a garden or store-bought or a photo of flowers. If you have flowers available, we will bless them now. May these flowers remind us of the beauty and strength of our earth. May they ground us in our efforts to do the justice work that is so needed. And may their beauty remind us of the beauty of spiritual community, even as they help us hold all that we hold on this day. We bless these flowers and these plants. Blessed be.
Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friend.
the end of that, I heard, all right. I loved it. That's great. You know, this is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. You know, since we're not physically together to pass the basket around, we can do so virtually by texting 73256, 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send, and then follow the instructions to provide your offering. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, Nevada, 89511. But the slickest and cleanest way to donate is to sign up for the automatic giving. So contact the office and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization form. You know, it's in these times when we see the real strength of our fellowship. So many of our members have pulled together in some amazing ways. I continue to witness that all the volunteers are doing so much to keep us in touch with one another. And I'm grateful for the staff who are working so hard to keep the wheels turning as we move through this time together. I'm proud of Reverend Karen and the board for keeping us safe and making decisions about our future based on the latest medical information. We really do care about one another. So much goes on behind the scenes, and I want to give a shout out today to the board for finding a way for us to have our annual meeting today following the service. So thanks for all the hard work on our behalf all during the year. We're still doing good in our community, and we're still doing good in the world. So thank you to everyone who have stepped forward to make sure our fellowship is financially secure in this uncertain time. We're aware that there are some who cannot make their commitment because of the current situation, so I urge those of us that can please contribute beyond our pledge. And I'm really feeling positive about all of us stepping up, and we will be stronger than ever. So thank you for taking care of our beloved community. Now let the offering begin. I'd like you to join Lois and me as we bless these offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
In 2015, I was in Mississippi, where I was leading a pilgrimage through historic sacred sites, hearing from the leaders of the civil rights movement. The pilgrimage ended, and I flew directly to St. Louis, Missouri, where I visited Ferguson and met leaders of the movement for Black Lives, who were leading the protests and marches honoring Eric Garner and Michael Brown, who had both been killed just months before. It was not lost on me that I had spent my first week honoring the great transformation that occurred during the civil rights movement, only to spend my second week with leaders and activists mourning the continuation of racism in our country. And yesterday, I participated with others of you in the march in Reno, where we honored the life of George Floyd and expressed our anger and sadness and frustration and joined together in disbelief and feelings of helplessness that we are still witnessing white supremacy in so many forms. And again, it was not lost on me as marchers chanted, "I can't breathe," the cyclical and recurring nature of racism that we can't seem to undo. While I walked in the march yesterday, I was reminded of a particularly moving experience during that trip to Ferguson 5 years earlier, when I participated in an interfaith service with leaders and activists. It was early Sunday morning, and only about 25 of us had gathered for the service being offered in a small chapel. It was quiet and intimate, and everyone was deep in thought about all that we were experiencing. And then from the back of this chapel in Ferguson, a voice started singing. I can hear my neighbor crying, singing, I can't breathe. And now I'm in the struggle, saying, I can't leave. We're calling out the violence of the racist police, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. And we sang this song over and over and over again until everyone was crying, and we were reminded of the power of religious community to uplift our spirits and to keep us courageous in the midst of a struggle that has continued for centuries. I think about this song often when I need to be reminded of how powerful our church communities are for keeping us courageous even when we feel helpless. This community here at UUFNN has been practicing that with one another this entire year as we move from comfort to courage. And I find strength in this community, even as we struggle to find courage in moments like these. And so I join in the marches and I chant, I can't breathe. And I think about minister, activist, and leader Reverend Sekou leading us in song in that chapel. And I feel courage to continue marching. I can hear my neighbor crying, singing, I can't breathe. And now I'm in the struggle, saying, I can't leave. We're calling out the violence of the racist police, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. Here is Reverend Sekou singing this song.
I can hear my neighbor cry, saying I can't breathe. of the race is going, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. Hey, hear my neighbor cry, saying I can't breathe, and now I'm in trouble, saying I can't breathe. We're calling out lights of the race is going, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. Hey, we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. Oh, hear my neighbor say I can't breathe. Say that with us. I'm struggling, and I can't breathe. We're calling out the fire. We're calling out of the race is going, and we ain't gonna stop. We ain't gonna stop until the people are free. We ain't gonna stop. We ain't gonna stop until the people are free. One more time. I hear my neighbor cry. Stand up, stand up. I can't breathe. Now it's say I can't breathe. Calling out of the race is going, and we ain't gonna stop until the people are free. We ain't gonna stop until the people are free. We ain't gonna stop. We ain't gonna stop until the people are free. Yeah. We ain't gonna stop until the people are
We enter now into our time of community prayer and meditation. Spirit of love and life, mystery, source, holy presence. We bring today so many intense feelings. So many feelings that we can't even process. Feelings about hatred and racism and violence. Feelings of the pandemic. Feelings of sometimes feeling powerless. May we be reminded that it is okay to be in our discomfort. It is okay to be uncomfortable, for it can serve to move us and empower us and inspire us. It is okay to be uncomfortable. For many feel uncomfortable every single moment. May we be reminded in these days that breathing is a right and not a privilege. May we take the time to be with our discomfort, to hold it, to not wish it away too quickly so that we can feel comfortable once again. May we embrace it and allow it to serve a purpose. You're invited now to place those prayers of your hearts in the chat box. And while we offer our prayers today, we will also place flowers in a vase as a symbol of all that we hold in our hearts. You're invited to express your celebrations, your joys, your discomfort, your worries, your strong feelings about whatever it is that you would like to express today. May we allow our discomfort to move us ever more toward courage. I'm going to invite us to take just a moment and moving back to gallery view so that we can all see one another. That we would use the gesture that we used a few weeks ago and place one hand over our hearts and the other hand towards each other. And in so doing, may we acknowledge that we are feeling the feelings, but that we also recommit ourselves, our voices, our privilege, our hands, our feet, our bodies, our lives, to changing our world for the better, to changing our world in a way that we know it can be. There is much work to do, and we are the right people at the right time to participate in that work to bring about change. Blessed be, and amen. We do dream of a better world. We know that a better world can be. And so toward that end, we will now place those feelings in our hearts towards singing together, "Come Sing a Song with Me."
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me that I might know you're mine. And I'll give you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
We want to thank you so much for joining us today for our Flower Communion service and our service to address in our hearts and our spirits the events of the last few days. We hope that you have received something today that you needed from this time together. Just a few reminders as we close our service. Please do watch your email for programming announcements. That our programming on Zoom changes a little bit every week. And there's an email that comes out particularly on Mondays to give you all of that information. If you know of anyone who needs support with Zoom or any kind of support, errands, we have folks who are willing and ready to do that if you can let us know. If you're new to us and you're not receiving our emails, you can fill out the newcomer card or place your email in the chat box so that we can know that you are ready to connect with us. And if you know of anyone who may be feeling particularly isolated and may need someone to reach out to them, we'd really like to be able to do that. If that is you or someone you know, let us know and we would like to be able to provide that connection. There is no coffee hour today as we'll be going right into our congregational meeting, and we need lots of participation to make our quorum so that we can do the business that we need to do to continue moving forward into the new church year. And that is a different link that came out in your email on Thursday and yesterday. And so you will need to sign off and sign back in on the other link that is specifically for our congregational meeting. And that meeting will start in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So you can take a very short break and then sign on for that. Once again, thank you for joining us today, and let's join together in an appropriate song to close our service today, Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but
if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me, or just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
As we participate in our benediction for this morning, I'm going to invite you to hold up your hands. And in this way, we connect window to window in Zoom, just as we would do if we were together in the great room. And in this way, this visual reminds us that indeed we are all connected. Beloved, may you know how deeply loved you are. May you be ever more aware of breathing. And may we all allow our discomfort to move us ever more to courage. Blessed be, and amen.